most loyal person that I know was my friend Lee Hilton. I met her at church when I was probably about 10 years old, and we went to church together, and we were part of the Girl Scouts together, and both of our moms were troop leaders. And it ended up that we were in high school together. And after we left high school, we went our separate ways. But Lee was always the one to keep in touch. She would always try to catch up and pull us and our friends together. And so she was always one of my very, very good friends. And I was her oldest friend that had been around for the longest amount of time. Unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago. But when I think back on the most loyal person, she is the one that I believe was one of my best friends that I had for the longest amount of time.
Hi, my name is Nick Cook. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, where I met my wife, Crystal. We've been together going over 20 years. Why is Crystal so important in my life? When I met her, I was struggling. I had a lot of expenses, and her and I became real good friends, and she gave me directions. At the time that I met her, she had her degree, and I was complaining about not making enough money, and she said to me one day that a good way to make a better income is to get a better education, and she suggested that I go back to school. So I went back and got my associate's degree all at night. I went back and got my bachelor's degree all at night, and then I went back and got my master's degree all at night. Why is my wife so special to me? Because she is like my right-hand person. She's always guides me. I'm a go-getter. I'm a self-starter. And I'm motivated. But even someone like myself needs someone to help guide me. So my wife has always been my guiding light, and has always been there for me. I think that's one of the great things about her. Like I said, we've been married over 20 years. We have two beautiful children, Alyssa and Jaden, who are doing very well. I think it's a privilege to see my children see that they come from a family where both the parents are educated and have higher degrees. I also think that my wife has always been there for me to help guide me, even currently, as I still struggle with certain things in life. She seems to be the person that sits me down and she'll talk to me about how I should still address those things. So, I could be here all day, all night, talking about all the wonderful things that my wife has done for me in terms of being a mentor, being guidance, and showing me directions. So, with that being said, I'm just extremely grateful to my wife.
My own personal odyssey has been a quest really for my life's own meaning, the meaning of my life. An
answer to the question of why be alive at all. What use am I to make of my life? Is it professional accomplishment? Is it intellectual achievement, or the accumulation of wealth, or the approval of others? What on earth is the point of spending this time that I have, whatever that time is? And my earliest flailings about in an effort to answer that question found me drifting among the rocky shoals of other people's expectations, other people's desires, other people's priorities. I listened to others' voices and not my own. And so after some years of drifting in this fashion, I found myself a lawyer. I was a high-powered lawyer in a big law firm, a partner in a big law firm. I earned lots of money. I was treated with a lot of deference. I reached superlative levels of intellectual attainment. I had, in fact, satisfied all the clamoring voices of all the adults in my life, except for my own. Except for my own. And my own voice was so shy, so reticent, so muted, that I did not even realize it was there at all. And this actually leads me to what you and I have talked about, is the notion of trappedness. Because this was, in fact, the time that I was trapped. On some level, I knew I was trapped. On some level, I felt trapped. But I dared not even acknowledge the existence of that feeling, much less do anything about it. And that was perhaps the biggest trap of all. However, even the most muted of voices over time will not be stilled. And the big problem of not paying attention to your own personal voice is that over time, your own voice's message will seep out in ways that can become toxic. And that's what happened to me. In my case, I refused to pay attention to my own voice until my 40s, my mid-40s, when I was diagnosed with cancer. And it wasn't even the cancer that did it. It was my reaction to the cancer. As I was faced with treatment alternatives, I came to realize, to my shock, that I was weighing choices based not on medical criteria, which would be the intelligent and rational, thoughtful thing to do, not on medical criteria, but purely and simply on how much time I would spend away from the office. And so, I mean, just think about that. This was my mental process. Go to the office or be poisoned with toxic chemicals. Go to the office or be irradiated with powerful radioactive waves. Go to the office or cut off parts of my body. And every time I was saying, oh, go ahead, poison me, blast me, cut away. I don't want to go to the office. Obviously, I was sick. But even more obviously, the sickness was far more deeply a sickness of the soul. So, I set about, of course, to cure the sickness of the body first, because I had a time limit on it, and I did that. But then I turned to the more important question of my soul. And after a good deal of effort and a good deal of listening for the first time, really, in all those decades, to my own needs, my own voices, my own passionate discomfort with what was going on in my life, I came to the realization of why it was that my previous life had made me sick. I was sick of adversarial contention. I was sick of manipulation. I was sick of a structure that rewarded canny shrewdness at the expense of more profound moral imperatives as I saw them. So, with that realization, my inner voice, which I could at last hear, articulated to me what I was crying out for, which was cooperation, not contention. Consideration for all the human beings with whom I would spend my life. Integrity,